Hey everybody, Steven here, and today an unboxing and impression video for a new Ultrawide monitor from Sceptre that I'm going to be reviewing eventually here in the next couple weeks. So this is the C34B from Nebula. After that initial number, they usually have more with this. So this would actually be the QUN168W. This is a complaint about every single monitor, is that they usually have that. So they make it a little bit hard, and I know that has to do with how they actually most likely have this in their system. They need all of those letters and numbers to make sure that they can sort through all of their products. But it is one of those things where this C34 or C34B here, there's more numbers after that. Just make sure that this is the specific one that you actually want if you're watching this video and you're wanting to get a general idea about this monitor. And so I'm excited about this because Sceptre's been knocking it out of the park, in my opinion, with this Nebula series. I just did the C275B. I can't remember the rest of the numbers. I'll make sure a link for that pops up right now. That is a solid 27-inch 1440p monitor. The big draw is the 1000R curve. I did a video as well comparing that monitor to the G5 and the G7 from Samsung. The 1000R curve is finally being adopted by other companies, Sceptre here being one of them, and then MSI has an ultra-wide that has a 1000R curve. But that's going to be the draw here. This has a 1000R curve with it. So this is a 1440p VA panel with the 1000R curve. And then the other big draw here is it has the HDR 1000 with this. So it should cover 600 and 1000. That's what the C275B had. So I'm excited to go from the 27-inch with the 1000R curve and then the HDR 1000 now to the 34-inch ultra wide with the 1000R curve and then the 1000 nits, right? The HDR 1000. And this is certified by VESA as well. So this is like legit HDR. And it's not something that they've just tacked on. I'm excited to see how this looks. The other big thing here too, and I actually get questions about this on my other videos, specifically the Samsung G5, the 32-inch one, and then the 34-inch ultra-wide, is which one should I choose when it comes to a monitor that has the 1000R curve? And I've talked about this before. It really makes sense when you have a larger monitor for that 1000R curve, because as you have more screen space, it's going to curve around you more, and it's going to be more pronounced with that curve. So I'm excited to actually get this thing set up and see how it games. Now, again, this is just an unboxing and impression video. I got to test this thing. I usually test them anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks before I do my final review. So we're going to get this thing unboxed. I'm going to get into the specs a little bit more, and then I'm going to literally just play some games on it for 24 hours, and then I'm going to talk about the things that I've noticed that I like, and then potentially some things that I don't like here. If I don't notice any downside, then I really won't have anything to say about that, but that may come up in the review. So again, just an impression video, but let's go ahead and jump now, and I will get this thing unboxed. We'll cover the specs, and then I'll showcase me playing some games.
The Sceptre C345B QUN168 monitor is a 34-inch ultra-wide VA panel with a 1000R curve, 165Hz refresh rate, and a 1 millisecond motion picture response time that Sceptre says is the same as a 4 millisecond gray-to-gray response time with overdrive enabled. The backlight type with this panel is LED with 30,000 plus hours of life. This has anti-flicker and an anti-glare surface treatment with a 3H hardness. The typical peak brightness is 600 nits with a peak brightness of 1000 nits, and Sceptre has had this VESA certified for HDR 1000 with 16 local dimming zones. In the menu, you will have the option here though for HDR 600 or 1000. This covers 99% of the sRGB color gamut and 85% of the NTSC color gamut with a 3000:1 contrast ratio and a 1,000,000:1 dynamic contrast ratio. On the back of the panel, you will find 3 HDMI 2.0 ports, 1 DP 1.4 port, and a 3.5mm headphone jack. This also features 2 3-watt speakers at 4 ohms. The stand has a height adjustment of 3.74 inches, and measuring from the bottom of the panel to the desk at its lowest height, it's 4.125 inches, and at its highest, it's 7.825 inches. Swivel is 15 degrees to the left and right, and this has a tilt of 15 degrees backwards and 5 degrees forwards. In the box you will find the monitor, neck, stand, screwdriver, wall mount plate with a 75mm by 75mm pattern, stand screws, user manual, and a warranty card. This comes with a 1-year limited parts and labor warranty. So now that we have the specs out of the way, I can tell you that my initial impression is really good. In fact, this might just take the top spot for my favorite ultra-wide monitor. For my personal settings, I am using the FPS preset with the gamma at 2.4 and saturation at 60%. I personally like a very vibrant monitor for gaming, and the fact that I can do that with such minor tweaks to the in-panel settings is incredible. I don't have to touch the NVIDIA control panel at all like I have in the past with other monitors. I'll cover the panel settings more in my final review, but if you've watched my review of the C275B, then it'll be the same as what you find with that monitor. With that being said, I'll be showcasing myself playing a lot of different games here, and all of them have looked and performed amazing. This being a VA panel, I expect a certain level of black smearing or ghosting, but it is very minimal, and as of right now, this would sit at the top of my list with just my initial impression of VA panels with a 1 millisecond MPRT for ghosting or black smearing. Although this doesn't have FreeSync, it does have Adaptive Sync, and when enabled, you can enable G-Sync in the NVIDIA control panel if you have an NVIDIA GPU. This isn't certified G-Sync compatible, but I've played games with it on and off, and it runs smooth either way. Of course, I need to spend more time with this, but I just can't get over how amazing this thing looks, especially considering its $500 price tag. My previous favorite ultrawide monitor was the TUF VG34V QUN1B, and that cost me $500 also, but this has HDR 1000, not just HDR 600 like the TUF, and the colors here are much better, and the TUF had great colors already, so that says a lot. It's hard to find the TUF at the moment also, and the price has gone up to around $630 when I can find it. The 1000R curve with the 34-inch panel makes more sense in my opinion, as I mentioned earlier, as the curve is far more noticeable and looks great when gaming and for editing video or any type of content creation. This may not be for everyone, but if you do like a curved monitor and won't be trying to game or watch content at an angle, then this would be great for you. I'm not noticing any text morphing or loss of clarity in games when looking close to the edge of the monitor either. HDR here looks phenomenal also. Utilizing HDR 600 or 1000, I will make sure that Doom Eternal pops up showcasing this while I have no HDR on for a second, and then I'll showcase it with the HDR 600 and then with the HDR 1000. Regardless of whether or not it's HDR 600 or 1000, it's gonna look really, really good. I think the thing that you get with the HDR 1000 is a little bit more scale in terms of the settings that you can do. But if you don't want to use HDR 1000 and you just want to use the HDR 600, it's gonna look great either way. So with all of these positives, there must be some negatives here, right? Yes, but it's something that I've covered in my previous Sceptre reviews, so it's not something new to what I would like to see improved and added here, which is extra USB ports and slightly better speakers. Now the 3-watt speakers here are decent, but I do wish they would get a little louder. With that being said though, let's test these really quick with the camera at roughly 3 feet away from the monitor and the levels in post adjusted to match my peak decibel levels with the voiceover work. Just in case I get questions about the ports here, I do wish there would be 2 DP ports and 2 HDMI ports, instead of just 1 DP and 3 HDMI. For the versions of the HDMI, I don't see any upside here to getting version 2.1 over 2.0, as consoles don't support native 21:9 aspect ratios yet, so it will just stretch out the image anyways, making it not worth using with consoles just yet, in my opinion. One last thing I know I have covered with the other monitors in the Nebula series is the panel color, as the white here is great for my black and white ITX build, and it's great to see a white monitor in a sea of black ones, but I know it might deter some people from buying this because it won't match their setup. The good news here though is Sceptre is planning on having black options for these monitors sometime in Q1 of 2022. Now, with the current state of supply chain issues in the world right now, if they don't get it out right in Q1, don't worry, it will for sure happen. There just might be a delay somewhere in the chain. For a first impression, this has made a great one, and I can't wait to spend more time with this thing. I'll be using it for about the next 3 to 4 weeks, testing things out before my final review. If you do have any specific questions you want me to answer in the video, let me know in the comment section. I'll have a link for this in the description if you actually want to pick it up. And as always, thanks so much for watching. If you like the video, hit the like button for me. If you want to continue to follow along with all my content, like the upcoming review of this monitor, hit the subscribe button for me. And I'll see you in the next video.